All right, so let's look at a diagram of how we're going to connect our router up. So here we have a PC and a router. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to hook up the data network connection to it. And to do that, we're going to use a crossover cable for that. Now I talk over the cases and how a crossover cable is built and why we need it. I talk about all of that in the Ethernet and switching video, and I encourage you to go take a look at that if you want to understand the crossover cable better. For the moment, just understand that when we're connecting a PC to a router, you must use a crossover Ethernet cable. And this is, again, is going to be used for data transfer. We're going to be putting frames and packets and segments on that wire. The second cable we need to connect to put this base configuration on our device is the rollover cable. Now that rollover cable is a serial cable. It's usually flat and light blue in color, and we use it exclusively to configure a Cisco device. Now we're going to hook up our crossover cable. We're going to plug that into the network interface card of our PC and to the fast Ethernet 0/0 port of the router. Does it matter which port of the router we plug our cable into? Absolutely not, except that when we're doing the configuration, we just have to know what port we're plugged into so we can assign an IP address to the correct interface on the router. As far as the rollover cable goes, we're going to plug the rollover cable into the serial port of our PC. Sometimes this is called the RS-232 port. If you don't have one, you'll need to get that USB to serial adapter. And I don't believe I've mentioned this before, but those USB to serial adapters, they can come really cheap for $2, $3, $4. And I do not recommend purchasing those. I have probably a stack of those $3, $4, $5 serial to USB adapters, and none of them work. Or if they do work, they're very unreliable. I've not had good success with them. If you do get one, check out the Keyspan products. The Keyspan 19HS is an outstanding product. It works on both Mac and Windows and Linux pretty reliably, and there's a big community out there that uses them and supports them as well. So that's a Keyspan 19HS USB to serial adapter is what you're looking for there. Okay, so we're going to run then our rollover cable from either that serial port adapter, and then we're going to plug that into the console port of the router. So when we plug it into the console port, now we have a connection between our PC and our router for configuration. Let's look at how we're going to configure this. So what I want to do is I want to put an IP address on my workstation, and I want to put an IP address on my router. My ultimate goal here is to send a message. I'm going to send a ping message from my PC to my router to make sure that the data network connection is up. And then we're going to use the Telnet protocol to actually Telnet into the router and use Telnet to configure the router instead of having to use the serial connection. So we'll actually get rid of the serial connection then, Telnet into the router, and look at our configuration from that perspective without using the serial cable. So let's jump into it.